What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the Fantasy Files podcast, where we talk about our favorite fantasy series and topics. We are your co-hosts, Spencer and Gabe, and today we are talking about the much anticipated Gleanings, the short story collection from Neal Shusterman set in the world of his Arc of a Scythe trilogy. This one will probably be shorter than our usual episodes. We're going to give our general thoughts on the whole anthology and then just go through each story in the book and talk about each of them in detail, which is, I think, how we'll probably do anthologies from now on, unless we do this and Gabe, you feel like doing something different. But I was thinking, like, for books that are coming up, like we have the Dresden Files short stories that are probably coming up in our read along sometime soon. And a good way to do these might just be going like kind of story by story, as opposed to like our normal
jumping around different topics and whatnot. Yeah, I would probably agree.
As always, it helps the channel a ton when you smash those like and subscribe buttons. You can also ring the bell icon to get notified when more of our content gets posted. We also have a Discord server now that is up and running, which will be linked below, as well as our Twitter account. But before we get into spoilers, let's talk about what we've been reading lately or watching. Have you seen anything good or read anything good outside of our usual?
No, I haven't. I mean, and I know that sounds lame. I have been reading. So of course I read, we finished the third book in the Threadlight trilogy.
Mm-hmm.
And of course Gleanings I read. And then I didn't have any credits until a couple, 4 days ago. So I've just been rereading stuff that I've already read. Something from like a long time ago. Like,
Have you checked out the that Scribd app?
Yeah, that's where I listened to
Okay.
Zach, but I looked for like, I typed in like fantasy adventure and I found some, but I just,
Mm-hmm.
when I read the little caption, I was like, that doesn't sound like something I would like.
Yeah,
And so I'm sure there's some gems in there somewhere. I just have to dig for them.
dude, you should read, look up this book called Bone White. It's by Ronald Malfi. And it is it's kind of like a mystery horror, but I just put up a review for it. I'll link it up above here in the annotations on YouTube. But dude, I really liked this book.
Nice.
It's about this guy who he's a twin, and he's kind of the good twin, and then his brother, the other one, is kind of the black sheep of the family. He's always kind of been like a fuck up.
Yeah.
And he goes missing. He goes out to Alaska to try to like start a new life and kind of turn over a new leaf, and then that's the last time anybody hears from him. And
Ooh.
so the main character, Paul, he's like sitting at a bar or something. I think he's living in maybe like California or something like that. And he sees on the news that there's a serial killer that was caught in the Alaskan town that his brother went missing.
Oh.
And so he's like, oh, is my brother dead? And so he flies up to this town to try to search for him. But the town it's called Dread's Hand.
Whoa.
And it's a really weird town. Like, people are really secretive. Like, everybody wants him to leave. Like, nobody will tell him like what's going on. Like, there's several people that have seen his brother, and like, there's people who have like seen his brother's car and stuff, but then when he asks them about it, they're like, no, I don't know him. Like, I've never seen your brother.
Oh, weird.
And so there's this really cool mystery. It's like, why is everybody being so like secretive about this? Why is everybody being so weird? And just the rabbit hole that he goes down, there's definitely like some supernatural like horror elements to it. And you don't really know how it all kind of clicks together until the very end.
Oh, so it leaves you on the edge of your seat the whole time?
Yeah. And dude, I loved this book, dude. And like the atmosphere of the town, like the author does such a good job of like describing this town that's just out in the middle of nowhere, like
Yeah.
surrounded by woods and nothing else. It's just like this little mountain town. And just like the creepiness of it and how everybody is so like closed off from the outside world, like they don't really know what's going on outside their little
Yeah.
town. Dude, it's so good. If you want a good mystery, I highly recommend it.
Yep.
And it's on that Scribd app
Yeah,
for
I
free.
just bookmarked it, so it's in
Nice.
my saved stuff now.
Yeah, and the other thing that's cool about Scribd is you know, you're absolutely right. They don't have like a whole lot of fantasy books,
Yeah.
although I have found a couple where I've been like, "Oh, I've been meaning to read that. I can
Yep.
probably check that out." But by and large, there's not a lot.
Yeah.
But guess what they do have?
What?
They have every single book that Dean Koontz has ever written.
Oh, cool, dude. Hell yeah.
Yeah.
I bet
So
it's time to reread Watchers then, dude.
yeah, I'm like, dude, I could literally just go down the rabbit hole of just reading every single Dean Koontz books
Yep.
because, you know, on Audible, it's hard to know like it's like what are the good Dean Koontz books and what
Yeah.
are the ones that are like just okay or bad or whatever.
Yep.
And it's like I don't want to spend a credit on
I know it's like
a
15
bad,
bucks, dude.
yeah, I'm like I don't want to spend a credit on like a bad Dean Koontz books and then possibly not be able to, you know,
Yep. Return it.
return it or whatever. And so when I saw this, I was like, oh dude, I could literally just listen to like the first 30 minutes or the first hour of every single Dean Koontz book until I find one that is really good. And so I'm super excited. I think I'm gonna keep the app for one more month
Hmm.
after the free trial.
Yeah.
And then I'll probably get rid of it because there isn't a whole lot on there. But they, like I said, every Dean Koontz book, and then they have a lot of horror books, like all of the horror books that I wanted to check out for a long time but didn't want to spend a credit on.
Yeah.
They
Are all
they
there.
they have them on there. And
Nice.
so, you know, not so good for fantasy, or I haven't really looked into sci-fi, but you know, not super good for either of those. But if you're looking outside those genres, there's a lot to dive into there. They have like everything that H.P. Lovecraft has written.
Oh, wow.
And so I've been reading a couple of those. So yeah,
Lots
that's
of I see lots of Neil Gaiman stuff. Neil
yeah,
Gaiman.
yep, yeah. I know Chris is really into him,
Yeah.
into
I've
Neil.
heard that he was worth a shot for sure.
Yeah, I want to check out his Sandman series.
Yeah.
uh,
Netflix did a. Is that the same thing Netflix had the show about? Yeah. I haven't
yeah,
watched it. Have you seen it?
I haven't, but people said it's really good. They
Yeah,
said
that's what
it's
I've heard too.
yeah, they said it's really faithful to the books and
Books.
the
Nice.
comics and stuff. So definitely want to check that out. Have you been watching anything?
Yeah, so the new Bleach
Oh
that's
yeah.
out, the anime. Yeah, so we get one episode a week,
Hmm.
but I've faithfully been watching it every night that it comes out. So I think there's four episodes right now, and then a fifth comes out, I think, with maybe even tonight at 10 or whatever
Okay.
Sunday night. But so
Nice.
that's been super awesome, dude. That's just so good. You have to watch it, dude. It's like really impressive because they changed the animation style quite a bit.
Okay.
And it's of course with new technology because Bleach, the original Bleach was it was like 2004, 2003 or something. And so just visually stunning. The story basically continues right after, well, a little bit after like the very ending of Bleach. And that was like
Right.
that's like a 400 episode
Yeah.
series, the whole thing.
Wow.
I faithfully watched it when I was like, 14. Took me
Wow.
like a year. I watched an episode or two every single night.
Wow.
So yeah, I'm pretty obsessed right now. Other than
That's
that,
great.
nothing.
Did
Leah's
you
been watched a lot of her there's a bunch of new like teen drama kind of
yeah.
shows out right now. So
Yeah.
there's several. One of them I sat in for an episode and I was actually impressed. It wasn't what you'd think for a teen drama. It was like very
Right.
serious, but it was kind of cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Did you get my text the other day about the Sword Art Online
Yes, the
movie?
Asuna, yeah, the
Yeah,
origin story. That'll be
yeah.
freaking awesome, dude.
It's coming to Crunchyroll in 11 days from now.
Nice.
Yeah.
Do you have a timer? Countdown?
Yeah. Yeah, I'm excited to watch it. I think I watched some of it, but I think it was only I don't think there was even like English subtitles. I think it was like all Japanese.
Oh, so it's
Like,
already out like in Japan right now?
yeah.
Oh, okay.
And so, it takes a while for them to get it over
Yeah, they
to
had to
America.
do the dub and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm super, super excited for that. There's another movie, the sequel to that movie that came out in Japan in October,
Well,
but it won't be here for another year.
oh, dang,
So
dude.
yeah.
I
So
wonder if
that
that one has subtitles. I'm gonna have to use my VPN and head on
it,
over to Japan.
it's all in Japanese. There's no subtitles yet.
Ah,
So like it'll take them, because I was like digging into it trying to find
yeah,
it. And it'll take them probably about a year to get the subtitles on it and to send it over to America and all that.
yeah,
But yeah, I'm super excited for that, because having just finished that series somewhat recently,
yep.
I'm like, man, I'm so ready for more. I just want
When you
more.
finish it, did you watch like all of it up until?
Yeah,
Okay, nice.
yeah,
Because
yeah,
the second arc or the one with the Alicization,
yeah.
that's so fucking awesome, dude.
I
Shit
know.
gets so wild the last like 5 episodes.
I know. I loved it. I
Yeah.
loved it. And it ended too, if I remember correctly, it ended on at least a little bit of a cliffhanger.
Yeah. Yep.
And I was like, shit, dude, I really
Yeah.
want the
I know.
rest. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
So, um, all right. Well, I think that's pretty much all that I've watched. I've been playing a lot of Fallout, but we'll talk about
Yes.
that.
You and your base building.
Yeah. Yeah.
I've been
I'll
playing the new Modern Warfare 2.
Oh, is it good?
Dude, it's so good, bro.
Oh,
It's so much fun.
I've been wanting to get it, but
Yeah.
I can't justify the price tag right
I
now.
know. I know it's
But
tough, but
but
it is like
yeah,
super awesome. The campaign was like I loved the campaign.
yeah,
It threw some like homage to the last like the all gillied up mission and stuff. I don't know, but it's cool and you should get it so then we can play together.
yeah. I'm definitely down. Have you played online?
Yes, that's all I've
Yeah.
done, really.
Okay.
The
Nice.
campaign's not super long, so I did that the first night and then
Right.
all every night
Yeah.
for a little
Sick.
bit.
Oh, I gotta get into it.
Yeah.
All right. So we read Gleanings by Neal Shusterman. And we're gonna give a spoiler warning here. We're gonna spoil all of Scythe, like all three books and the short stories. So if you haven't read the trilogy, go check that out, and then come back. Also, I think I talk about this in our outro as well, but we did some other Scythe episodes when we first started the
Yep.
podcast. They're kind of janky,
Yeah.
but
It was when like we were like brand new to this.
yeah, I think it was like our fifth or sixth
Yeah.
episode or something like that. So yeah, feel free to go check those out as well. But this is your spoiler warning in 3, 2, 1. You've been warned. All right, Gabe, what'd you think, man?
I I would say for the most part, I really enjoyed all of them. There was a
Same.
couple that were like so, at least in my eyes. But like for instance, like the very last one was fucking mind blowing, dude.
Yeah.
The one about the dreams was super fucking cool.
Oh, you
Um,
like that one?
yes, and then the one where the Scythe came and basically commissioned these people to like give it's like an art presentation or whatever. Those were
Yes.
my three favorite.
Yeah,
And
for
those are the
sure.
three that like really took me in. The rest were so, but it's cool anyways, it's the Scythe stuff, so it's
Yeah.
awesome. Oh, and the
Yeah.
dog one. Yeah.
Yeah, the dog one for
Yeah.
sure. I knew you'd like that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, overall, I think that I liked it. I think it was really cool to kind of see the side stories from more or less normal people
Yep.
in this world who live in like this future kind of utopia world. And I think that I think every story at least had one Scythe in it.
Yeah.
But it was all kind of from the perspective, for the most part, of people, just normal people living in the
Yeah.
world. And I think that that is something that we didn't get enough of in the original trilogy. We were pretty much just following the Scythes and Grayson Tolliver.
Yep.
And we really didn't get to see a whole lot of just normal people. So in that respect, I liked it because like one of my favorite things about the trilogy was kind of like the world itself, and like
Yeah.
just this kind of predicament that humans have found themselves in
Yep.
with having like basically immortality and this the ability to live for like thousands of years, but needing this other system that kind of allows them to be gleaned off so that we
Yep.
don't get overpopulation. And so that's like kind of always the thing. Like the characters, obviously I love the characters, but the world and that whole like society and their whole like system was the thing that really intrigued me. So it was cool to get some more kind of info on that.
Yeah.
However, the thing I was really bummed about it, like I was actually like a little pissed,
Yeah.
was there were several stories that we were supposed to get. Like Neal came out and said, like, when I do these short stories, you're gonna get at least these like 4 stories.
Yeah.
There was supposed to be a Scythe Rand origin story about
Ooh.
her being like just kind of a rogue urchin girl on
Yeah.
the streets that gets taken in by Goddard. And then like there was supposed to be a story about like the very first Scythes, like the like
Founding
yeah,
Scythe.
yeah,
Yeah.
like Scythe Prometheus and Cleopatra
Yep.
and all those people. We were supposed to get a story about that. There was supposed to be a story about 2 unknown charter regions, and that's not including the communal dreaming, because
Oh, okay.
these were supposed to be stories about like regions that we hadn't heard about in the trilogy.
Yeah.
And so we didn't get those. And then we were supposed to get a story with Citra and Rowan after the finale of The Toll.
I know that's the one that I was just praying for, dude.
Yeah, I'm like I want to see Citra and Rowan. I think everybody does. Like
Yeah.
why is that not in here, especially when he said it was going to be.
Yeah. See, I,
uh
I I didn't know that. I didn't know that he came out and said that stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
That's a bummer.
he had done like an AMA, and he had been like, yep, I'm doing these short stories. I've had these stories that I've been working on for a long time, and these are the ones that I want to include. And so everyone was hyped about that, and it's like, okay, like like some of the stories in this book I feel really didn't need to be there. And I was just like, dude, why did we not get the cooler stories that
Yeah.
everyone would have flipped out about? Like everyone would have been so insane over those stories. So I don't know. It's just like a weird decision. And I wonder if there was like a certain theme that he was going for, and like those stories just wouldn't match like the theme of the book.
Yeah.
That could be a possibility. But at the same time, it's like, dude, this is like your chance to do like the biggest like fan service
Yeah.
thing, and you didn't include those. Like I just don't understand it at
Yeah.
all. But overall, I did enjoy my time with this book. I think that it was just good to be able to go back to this world and kind of revisit just kind of the world building and the scythedom in general, and getting to see some of the things that happened like afterwards. I think that was really cool.
Yeah. But I would agree with you. I think that it would have been cool to see that stuff. But I was
Yeah,
still I was still like, I was still exciting, like
yeah,
regardless. Which is nice.
yeah. All right, so let's go through like story by story. So we start off with the first swing. And I actually have that pulled up here. somewhere. Give me
That's the only one that I'm like having a hard time with all the different stories. It's hard to parse out where it is. So you're
yeah,
gonna have to remind me what happens in this one because I can't
yeah.
think of it.
I didn't remember it either until I went back and kind of looked at it. It's like this poem that's at the very beginning,
Oh,
and it's kind of like the Scythe vows, I
commandments.
guess.
Yeah.
And so it's yeah, I'm not sure what exactly this is supposed to be. It's just kind of like this poem. Oh, it's actually written by Joelle Shusterman. So I don't know if that's like
Oh,
his wife
could be.
or if that's like his daughter or something. Um, but I guess I could read it real quick. It's not that long. Slicing through the air with effortless aplomb. The moment you take your first swing, you wield your axe like you are a master in the art of gleaning. Those before you are in awe. They cannot imagine what your next move will be. You carry yourself as balanced and poised as a performer dancing brutally among them. The searing star of stars, your robe cascading to the earth in showers of gold. But that is not the truth. Your worth does not matter to those who now matter to you. You are truly nothing but a tiny sunspot in the eyes of others like yourself, an insignificant fleck. And as you take that first swing, they laugh at you. You try to rise above their derision, to be noticed in some small way, to find favor from the old ones who are never old, to gain respect from the young ones who have slain their own youth, to justify the arrogance that comes with the pride of being chosen. But that is not the truth either. It will be years until you come to know the truth that those you revere are merely servants to the collective that we prune. It was their choice to let us choose all those years ago. The odd, terrified, relieved spectators, the real ones in power, the puppeteers of your actions, standing in a perfect line before them, a cutting edge, wielding our axes, with wielding our axes. Each one of us is the same as the last. We are all, or we are one in all. We are all in one, and we shall kill. Our mantra, our commandment, our duty to remind the immortal of mortality, to teach them that eternal repose may be distant but not lost. Who are we? We are scythes, and the weapons we wield are not by any means our friends. The devastating force of bullet, blade, and bludgeon tears us apart each day, every day, piece by piece, and leaves us with wounds that will never heal. This is what ties us to the masses, yet restrains us from being one with them. And with each new gleaning, we bleed and break anew. Yet our resolve never changes, for we are scythes. Nothing will ever change that fact. And when it is your time to bleed, you will know and you will learn.
Wow.
Yeah, that's actually really cool. I don't think I really paid attention to that
Yeah, I
the
don't think I
first
did
time
either.
through. And it's kind of like it seems like the poem of like an honorable scythe. Like
Yeah,
it's
like the
basically,
old guard.
yeah, it's
Yep.
basically saying like, we're not here to gain favor. We're not here to gain respect. We're here to provide
A service.
a service to the
Yep.
world because we can't have overpopulation. And it talks about how we're not how size are not like supposed to be like this flashy, like, oh, I'm a cool
Yeah.
assassin kind of thing. Like, the deeds that sides have to perform, like killing over and over and over, they leave a mark on your soul, and it makes it harder to get to sleep every night
Yeah.
because of that. So that's a cool poem. I really like that. So then we go from that, we go on to Formidable, and this is the Scythe Curie origin story.
Yeah.
And she goes and she kills the last remaining U.S. officials.
Yep.
And this is an interesting story because we see Curie when she's really young and she's like really brazen. And we see Faraday when he's really young, and she's like trying to gain respect and trying to be noticed, and they
Yep.
call her like Little Miss Mischief and all
Yes.
that.
Yeah.
And I thought it was interesting that I feel like Scythe Curie was viewed in a very similar way to how Citra was.
Yeah.
Like, oh, like the little troublemaker. Like
Yep.
she's the one causing all this like commotion. Um, and then and meanwhile, society as a whole is having trouble with like this government. It's the last human government who refuses to submit to the
Yep.
Thunderhead, and they're making decisions and stuff that go against the Thunderhead. So curious, kind of like, man, if they would just like get on board with everybody else, like there's no need for this. We don't need a government anymore. We have the Thunderhead. Um, so then of course she shows up and kills everybody and kind of makes this name for herself, and we see her change her robe from, I think I might have it backwards, but I think at first it was like a really bright purple,
Yeah.
and then she made it like a darker, more like faded purple, like the one behind you.
Yep.
um and uh and then she changed her hair to be silver. And that was kind of like the start of her like
Start
iconic
of the
look.
Grand Dame of Death.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, that
um
was cool, man. I really enjoyed the whole scene where she, trumps up to the White House or wherever,
yeah,
and it's just like just pure authority.
yeah,
Like, because there's nothing they can do, and the president's like, "You will rue this decision for
yeah.
the rest of your life." She's like, "Yeah, no, I won't."
And what's funny though is it turns out that she does, because
Yeah.
like that, like even though she doesn't in the way that he's thinking,
Yeah.
in the trilogy, like she lives with that every day of
Yeah.
being like kind of this spectacle. Like she made like this spectacle out of herself. Like, really, you just went and killed the entire government? Like, did you have
Yeah.
to do that?
Yeah.
And that's kind of how everybody sees her. um and so it was interesting to kind of see that double meaning, where he's like, you will pay for this, but not like in the
The
way
way
that,
that he
he's
thinks,
thinking.
yeah.
Yeah. And so yeah, I thought that was super cool, just her showing up. And you got to think like how scary that would be. Like, imagine being that like president or that cabinet member or whatever, and you hold this position of importance, and all of a sudden the world changes,
Yep.
and you have no
No
you
value anymore.
yeah, you have no value, but you also have no choice in the matter. Like,
Yeah.
you cannot stop the world from changing in this huge way. Like, one day you're president of the whole United States or whatever, and the next day like none of it matters.
Yeah.
The next day the Thunderhead is online, and it's just like everybody's immortal now.
Yeah. That would be
And
nuts, dude.
dude, it's pretty crazy. So it was cool to kind of go back that far,
Yep.
and get to see and get to see Faraday too. Like, you can tell that he, even back then, he was like very stoic.
Yeah.
He was like giving her advice. And I want to go back and reread that short story, because
Yeah.
there was a lot of things that Faraday said that were like, you can see like how he becomes the Faraday that we
Yep.
know.
Yep.
So I really like that. So that was Formidable, the title of that one. Then we get Never Work with Animals.
Yeah.
You want to talk about this one?
Yeah, man. So Scythe Fields, and I'm just gonna start with, he's the epitome of how not to be a Scythe. Super just pumped up, pompous, like takes advantage of everything. He's a this was such a trip. I didn't even realize that this dog was that smart
Yeah,
until, like, he saw the dog doing something.
yeah,
But basically he steals this dog. He's out, he's getting his hot dogs. He loves these hot dogs from this one guy, and he gets like 2 or 3 of them, and he hears this little dog bark at him, and he's like, "How dare you ruin my day? Like I'm gonna find you and kill you, like
Yeah.
whoever's the owner." And so he finds this couple walking with a dog that he was like, this dog wasn't barking. Very good behaved
Yeah.
dog
Yeah.
and stuff. Of course, he takes him. And
And I'm pretty sure I don't think it said it explicitly, but I think he gleaned the family that
that's what
had the
I thought
dog.
too. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep. And so he takes this dog and he's all excited. He brings him back to his house. And then it's just like one fucking mistake after another, dude. And he's like gone deadish like 4 times in the last
Yeah.
week.
Yeah.
And so he's like confused, like, well, what's happening? Why am I doing this? And finally, I think that the dog, do you think the dog like somehow put out this SOS, or was it just the lady that worked at the animal control place?
So I think so what basically what it said later on was that the lady put out the SOS, but the dog, because it was such an intelligent, because
Yeah.
it was part of that like science experiment where
Yep.
they put like human level intelligence into
Yeah.
these dogs. And so like it knew what it was doing. Like
Yes.
it was trying to get back at the Scythe. And so I think the dog knew that if he made this guy like mess up enough,
Over and over again that
yeah,
somebody
this,
will notice. And
yeah, somebody will
yeah.
notice and she'll put out this SOS.
Yeah, and so of course that's all happening. And then I think so there's like a couple instances, and one that really just got me was it's when he started to like, I think the animal control lady like showed him like, this is an intelligent dog, and he's like, no, that's not, no way. And he goes home and he's like talking out loud to the dog. He's grabs a weapon or something, and he's like,
Shotgun, yeah.
I'm gonna go do some gleaning, right? He waits around the corner. No, I think the shotgun's still there. He grabs something else because the dog, when he comes back, is literally pouring glue down the center of his shotgun. And
Yeah.
just a picture to imagine that dog just like trying to like put
Yeah.
the stuff in there. Yeah. And then he realizes it.
Like I kept waiting for him to pick up the shotgun and like
Yeah.
shoot and
Yep.
like self glean because it would
Yeah.
like backfire or whatever. But yeah, go ahead and finish
No,
it.
I mean that's pretty much the end of it. He realizes that this dog's, intelligent, trying to kill him, and he kind of just like accepts the fact. And I
Well,
think,
Rowan.
yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then he's out doing this thing, and Rowan's like playing as the hot dog guy's like grandson or
Yeah, that's
nephew or
right.
something.
Yeah.
And so then Rowan's like, he
Shows up
realizes
at his
who
house.
he, yeah, exactly. Shows up at his house, realizes who he is, and like he's like, I'm gonna die here. And then the fucking dog, dude, the dog like blocks Rowan,
Hmm.
and like they have this like subconscious like chat really quick, just
Yeah.
like visuals. And Rowan's like, oh,
He's
he's
yours.
he's yours.
Yeah.
Yeah. And Rowan like makes a deal. He's like, all right, you're gonna live with this dog. And if you try and get rid of it, if you go to the animal control again, I will know. I will check every day and I'll know.
Yeah.
And of course, dude, yeah, the rest is fucking history. It turns into the dog's bitch, dude. The
Yeah.
dog's like, no, you sleep on the fucking bed you got me, bitch. I'm on the
Yeah.
bed. It was just so cool,
Yeah.
dude.
Yeah, that was fantastic. He has to
Yeah.
like the Scythe has to like curl up on the round
Yeah,
like doggy
exactly.
bed.
And he
And
accepts like, this is gonna be the rest of my life. Like this
yeah.
is what's gonna happen here.
Yeah. Yeah, that was absolutely fantastic. I really enjoyed that one. So yeah, we get that one, and then we get A Death of Many Colors. And this was one that I thought was interesting. Not so much in like exactly what happened, but just kind of like the thought experiment of it
Yeah.
all, where like I never considered that people may not believe in scythes.
Yeah.
Like I never considered that people would be like, no, scythes are like a hoax. Like they don't
Yep.
actually kill people. Like those people get sent away to like charter regions and stuff. Like those people don't actually die.
Yeah.
Um, and I just like what a really fantastic idea, because I just never considered like scythes being like a conspiracy theory to some
Yeah.
people. I think that's so cool. And you get these, there's like, it's like this whole block of families that are like partying, and none of them believe that scythes are real.
Yep.
And so then you get this girl who's like new in town. She's like the new girl at the school
Yep.
or whatever. And she's dressed up as a scythe for Halloween, and everybody's like making fun of her, like, scythes aren't
Yeah.
real, right? Like, you idiot. And she's like, of course they're real. What are you talking about? and and most of them were like, okay, whatever, like, I'm not gonna get in the middle of
Yeah.
this. But there's the one guy who's like, no, you're an idiot, like, scythes are not real, like, how
Yeah.
can you believe that? And like, he's like trying to like show her all this
Yep.
evidence and stuff, and she's like, where do you think these people go, like, how,
Yeah.
like this could have been proven, like, what are you talking about? And so they go back and forth for a long time, and that whole thing is really interesting. And then they find out that she's actually from a charter region, and that the wings on her back are
Yep.
real wings.
Body mods. Yeah.
Yeah. And so that was cool. That was like one of the first times we really get to see somebody with like a body
Yep.
modification.
And a
And
badass one at that. I thought it was fucking cool as shit, dude.
yeah, they were even saying like most people from that region, like if they're gonna fly, they get like the
The
squirrel,
gliders.
yeah,
Yeah.
the
Gliders thing.
glider
Yeah.
wings. But she had like actual like eagle
Yep.
wings, and but she can only do it for like 15 seconds at a
Yeah.
time, because when you scale that up, like, that's heavy, like that's hard
Yes.
to,
A lot of energy.
yeah, a lot of energy to do that. So by the end there, like, he's just going at it with this girl. And I forget what exactly was the catalyst, but she basically like seduces him and like brings him in for a kiss, and then jumps out the window.
Yeah.
And then like as they're falling, she like kisses him and lets him go,
Yeah.
and like flaps her wings away, and he's just fucking splatted. And even the parents are out there, and they're like, oh, the drones should be
Yep. There'll be a
showing up
drone
any
on its way
minute. And
right
they're
now.
they're like looking into the sky for the drones, and they're like, wait a minute. And she's trying to tell the family, like, I've just gleaned your son. And
Yeah.
they're like,
Kiss my ring.
yeah. And I forget, did they kiss the ring? I can't remember.
I don't think they did.
I
'Cause I
don't,
think that they thought it was a hoax continuously.
yeah. And so I think she was just kind of like, okay, and then just kind of like flew away.
Yep.
And they're like, oh, where's the drones? And like looking
Yeah.
for it. It's like, you idiots. And so hopefully, like, I don't know, I'd be interested to know. I think the ending made it seem like now they all
They
believe
finally
in
realized that when the
scythes.
drone never showed up. Yeah.
Yeah. But with people like that, it's interesting, because I would love to know if they just like kept going on like in ignorance, or if they actually were like, oh shit, sides are real. Yeah, I thought that was just a really cool story. It wasn't my favorite,
Yeah.
but I thought it was a cool like thought experiment.
Yep. I agree.
Um, so then we get Unsavory Row. What did you think of this one?
I didn't really like it.
I hated
I mean,
it.
yeah. So I thought that the one thing that was interesting about it is like we kind of get another glimpse into the way that unsavories are dealt with by the Thunderhead,
Right.
and the ways that they put them in these pods, and we see some of this in the actual trilogy and whatnot too. But like they have these areas they go with. They're all actors, and you can break stuff and like
Mhm.
steal stuff, and it's all part of this thing that's like set up just for that.
Right.
And then we also got to see the different levels of unsavory. So there was like,
Yeah.
I think the first, I'm not going to be able to remember the names of it, but there's like 3 tiers to
There's like Hellion,
Hellion. So
uh,
Hellion is the second one, I
Apocalypse.
think.
Yeah.
Apocalypse the very last one.
Yeah.
And so that was interesting, but the story itself I didn't really care for. Didn't even pay that much attention to. Those things just popped out.
Yeah. Honestly, I cannot remember a lot of what happened.
Yeah.
I think, the unsavories in the Scythe universe are probably like my least favorite thing.
Yeah.
Just because like it doesn't really make sense to be unsavory in this world. Like, it's
Yeah.
just like pretending.
Yep.
And I think the ones that were cool were the ones that like Grace and Tolliver got involved with
Yeah.
in the second book, the Thunderhead, because like they were doing like they were actually killing Scythes.
Yes,
Like
like they were really planning some like shit that would be permanent.
right.
Yeah.
But just like the unsavories overall, I just think it's such a weird just
And
group of people.
really, dude, really it's just like a thought experiment for the Thunderhead too.
Yeah,
He's just like trying to like give them enough, right? They're all still under, control. I mean, they're
right.
all still part of the same area, but it's like
Yeah,
giving these people just a semblance of like their own thing that they
right.
can do. Sometimes people just want to do bad shit.
Yeah. And I liked one thing I did like about this story too is because in the Thunderhead, Grace and Tolliver was like, "Oh, I love these like unsavory bars because
Yeah.
it's like I can do all this stuff and get away with it." But in this book, they show the other side of it where the girl is like, why would I find any enjoyment
Yeah.
in this? Like, this
Yep.
is like, it's not real. Like, these are all actors. Like, it's not giving me like an actual like satisfaction. You know what I mean? And
Yep.
so
Yep.
I thought that was kind of cool that they addressed that there would be some unsavories who don't really enjoy the unsavory bars because it's not real. And so I thought that was kind of cool. The other thing I thought was interesting was that the main character in that short story is Cole Whitlock's sister,
Yep.
and Cole Whitlock is the kind of the bully, like the guy that was kind of a dick to Rowan
Yeah.
at school, and then that's when Faraday came in and like
Yep.
gleaned Cole in the teachers lounge,
Yeah.
and Rowan was the only one who would sit with him.
Yep.
um and so I thought it was cool that like it makes sense that Cole Whitlock's sister would become
For
unsavory
sure.
after
Yeah.
that. Like it'd be the same thing as like, seeing your family member get gleaned and then becoming like a drug addict or
Yep.
something. Like I thought it made sense for that character to become
Yeah.
unsavory. And so I just like that connection. It's a small thing,
Yep.
but it was a nice little touch.
I agree.
But yeah, overall, not my favorite. And at the end, I'm not sure. I'm not sure what that was supposed to be because it seemed like she was getting this new position in the unsavory community and that she was going to become like this big figure in the unsavory community. Like I think it would have been cool if it had been like alluded to that she had become what was
Kind of.
Grayson Tolliver's girlfriend, like the one
Oh,
with the one with like the
yes.
dreads. It would
Oh,
have
can't remember.
I can't remember either, but it would have been cool if that's what she became. She became
Oh,
that
yeah.
character.
You're right. That would have been cool. I agree.
And so like I don't know for sure if that's what they were trying to like allude to.
Yeah.
Maybe it was and I just didn't catch it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I thought that'd be cool. Dang it, now I want to go back and read that story because
Just to see.
the more I'm thinking about that, the more it makes
Yes,
sense.
it does make total sense. I agree.
Because like Grayson Tolliver's girlfriend was the one who is like, yeah, we're gonna do something really unsavory. Like
Yep. Really
we're gonna do
big.
like something that's actually messed up.
Yeah.
And that's what this girl was wanting to do. So I wonder if there is a connection there. Maybe I'm just
No,
an
dude, that
idiot.
sounds plausible.
Yeah.
Super plausible. Now we're on to the big one.
Yeah, so now we got a Martian Minute, and this is Goddard's origin
Yeah.
story. Do you want to talk about this one?
Yes, I do. I don't know if there was a lot that happened, so if
Yeah.
I start to mess up, you just tell me.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. I
So,
don't know if I'll remember all of it either.
yeah, so what's his name? Let's like his actual name. I want to say Clay. I know that's not it.
Hang on.
I know, but we're not exactly spread out across the galaxy, are we? Carson Lusk said.
Carson Lusk.
Yeah.
Okay,
Okay.
got it. Yeah, so basically there's a mining colony on Mars. And I think that's pretty much why it's there, is to mine metals and stuff, and it was, just an experiment of the Thunderhead. Carson Lusk we see is, I don't know, he's like 14 or something, 13 years old kid.
Probably like 16, I would think.
16, and basically he's trying to fit in with this group of friends, group of people that like are okay with being on Mars, whereas he is like, I don't want to be here anymore. Like, I'll do whatever I can to get off this place. And so then I think after that, this might be skipped. And okay, yeah,
He's
there's
he's trying to get into like a university and stuff,
yes,
and
so I think what starts the whole thing is basically they hear that a Scythe is coming to check out the colony. The Scythe said, I won't kill anybody, I'm just coming to see this thing. And so the school that he goes to on there says the Scythe needs a valet, so we're gonna make this is a class assignment, so you need to write this thing and basically show why you should be this Scythe's valet, is what he called it.
right.
And so Carson's one of his good friends, I can't remember the name, they've been friends for a while. Basically, he wins this contest, and so Carson's like, fuck, like this is not like I should have won, like mine was better.
And his friend didn't even really want it.
Yeah,
he was just
exactly.
doing it
He just was writing it.
yeah.
And in fact, his friend's boyfriend, because I think they were
his friend's girlfriend. Yeah.
Okay. His friend's girlfriend wrote it for him, and
Yeah.
Carson knew that, and so he went to the teacher and was like, this this isn't like his stuff or whatever. Anyways, he gets the win. During this whole thing, there's been some issues with a drilling rig out further away or whatever, and
Right.
so they're out there trying to fix it, install this new drill, and Carson's friend gets down in there to fix something,
yeah.
and it starts up and it kind of pulls him down, right?
Yeah. Well, Carson purposely
okay.
turns it on.
I thought he did it the second time, but yes, he turns it on, stops it for a second. He's like, get me out of here. There's this huge like dust storm around, like a Martian sandstorm. So the Thunderhead cannot see what's going on.
Yeah.
And so he says, I'm sorry. Like, I have to do this, turns it on. His friends just get grounded to pulp.
Yeah.
So of course, up in Mars, it takes like a week for them to revive the body and stuff. And so now Carson's the winner.
Yeah.
Enter Xenocrates, who's the Scythe that decided to come in.
I like that. Enter Xenocrates.
Yep. He comes in, meets everybody, being as pompous and noble as he is.
Yeah.
Meets Carson, and basically from there, I think that, maybe you correct me, but I think that the whole reason why he went there was just for this, like, trying to find somebody and ultimately the destruction, right?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
And so he finds Carson and kind of like grooms him to do this thing, and he's talking to him like, I know you want more. I can open doors for you, like I can make anything happen, but we need to make a statement, right? We need to make something that is like profound, the world will never soon forget.
Right.
And so he grooms him to the point where he's like, I don't think Xenocrates says this. I think he hints towards it, but he's like, I want you to do something that is irrevocable, that
right.
It's not fixable.
Right.
And so Xenocrates but he mentions to the scientist, the core scientist of the nuclear reactor, he's like, you should have this guy intern here, with you guys, like, let him learn and stuff. And in the meantime, like, Carson's just like figuring out how to fucking destroy this like thing, dude.
Yeah.
And so he eventually comes the day where he finally does it.
And because he's working for a Scythe, the Thunderhead can't
do anything.
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, because he like turns this reactor up and adds some helium or oxygen, whatever it was, to this, and it got hotter and hotter.
He turns the hydrogen up.
Yeah, hydrogen, and then the scientists come in and they're like, Thunderhead, start the cooling process right now. Start. And he says, unfortunately, I cannot do that. Yeah. This is a Scythe action. And I was like, that was cold, dude.
Yeah.
Like, I was like, holy crap.
Ooh.
Sure enough, it's starting to, the core's going nuclear, and they're all evacuating to this ship, right, that they're trying to get to. And Carson like has this moment where he's like, no, like, one of his friends is like, come with me, like, we have to go, and I need to get my parents, like let's get out of here.
Yeah, that was the girlfriend of his friend who he gleaned, and that he like loved, like he like had a big crush on her or whatever.
Yep. And so he doesn't, his parents stay there. Did the girl come with him? I don't remember.
No, she didn't. She was going to, and then
went back for,
at the very last second, she's like, stay here, I'm just gonna go get my family. And he's like, there's no time. Like,
he's like, you're not gonna make it.
Yeah.
So sure enough, they launch the spaceship without his friend or his family. They make it up and they see this detonation, this huge nuclear fission explosion.
Yeah.
And dude, it's crazy to think about. So this is something that, like, in the trilogy, like, I didn't notice that this wasn't really like Goddard this wasn't, well, it was his fault, but Xenocrates was the one that set this in motion.
Yeah.
Like he was the one that did all of this, all the grooming, all the
Yeah.
teaching. Like you need to make a statement, because I feel bad for Carson, because like he was just trying to like get out of there, you know, like he may have had some fucked up shit in his head, or like
Sure.
he doesn't bother him to kill his friend or something. But yeah, that was wild, because I didn't, in the trilogy, we don't know that. It was all Goddard.
Yeah.
Goddard from the beginning, you know, we never knew that was Xenocrates. And so then it kind of plays to why you know, Goddard treated Xenocrates that way in the trilogy and stuff. But
yeah, it was interesting, because I think in the trilogy it was alluded to that there was like this big cover up in the Scythedom, but that it was mostly like Goddard's doing.
Well, no, I think they just, there was a cover up, but they just knew that he was the one that pressed the buttons to cause the explosion.
Right.
But they didn't know that Xenocrates was like the one, like, if you do this, I'll get you a free ride to wherever you want.
Right.
And of course, like, I would grasp onto that too, dude. If I wanted out of a fucking planet and, like, you know what I mean? I don't think I'd kill a bunch of people, but
yeah. I think you know, it was interesting to see where his whole thing started. And did you catch the line where the girl was about to come with him, and he's like holding out his hand to her, and he's like, "I'll be your savior, I'll be your deliverance." And I was like, ah!
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And then another cool line was where Xenocrates gets off the ship, and Carson like comments on like his gold filigree.
Yeah,
And
about the pool.
He's like, yeah, as I've been like ranking up in the Scythedom, I've added like more and more gold to it. And I'm thinking like someday maybe I'll have like an all gold robe, and like it'll be heavy, but I won't be swimming in it.
Yeah.
And
Carson's like, is it heavy? Like, it might be a little heavy, but I definitely won't be swimming in it.
Yeah.
Like, bitch, yes, you will.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this story. Yeah, so let's see, what can we dive into here? I think you know, it's so crazy that Carson, you know, he's so selfish, and he has his own motives so so much at the forefront in his head that he's willing to just kill everybody on Mars,
do anything,
just to get out of there. And just because he can't wait until he's like 18 to go to Earth,
to
like
leave. Yep.
Yeah. And so yeah, that was interesting. And then he gets off the he gets onto that ship, and it's like a cargo ship, and they're like, we can't like support all of you guys back there, so you're all gonna have to go deadish.
Yep.
And they rip the air out of the cabin.
Yeah.
And they die that way, and they're talking about how like excruciatingly painful that is. Yeah, just a crazy scene. Then he gets back down to Earth, and Xenocrates is like, okay, well, what do you want? Like, I can get you into a university and all this stuff. He's like, I want to be a Scythe. I want to be a Scythe. Dude. Yeah. And
I think Xenocrates knew that that's what was going to happen. He knew exactly that's what he was going to do.
Right.
So I think it's just crazy to think about how schemy, I know it's not a word, but how schemy it was for him to do that, dude.
Yeah.
Like, it's just wild to think about, because like I thought, like in the trilogy, like Xenocrates was kind of a douche, but I didn't take him for a bad guy. Yeah, he wasn't like a bad guy, you know. He respected people and all this, and like seeing that, I'm like, no, dude, you were, you know, that was bad.
Yeah, he's
really bad.
He's a lot darker than we thought he was.
And I think he does, of course, in the trilogy, like he regrets it. Like he tells Goddard, "You are my worst. That was the biggest mistake of my life, was taking you on and stuff." But yeah, that whole entire short story just really does kind of implant this feeling of why Goddard is the way he is now, you know, because that was probably the most defining point in his entire life. That was the point where he made the decision, like, I'm going to be a Scythe and I'm going to do it my way.
Right.
You know? So.
And it's also kind of where he learned scheme and whatnot. I mean,
Yeah.
he was kind of schemy before, like killing his friend and
Yep.
all that to
No, but
like
he really
to
had to
get the
plan this
position.
shit out like in
Yeah.
detail for weeks in advance.
Yeah.
So
And imagine someone like Xenocrates being your mentor with how schemy and
yeah,
like evil that plan is. That's your first introduction to the Scythedom. Like, yeah,
yep,
no shit that you're gonna turn out to be like this
for
really
real.
fucked up Scythe.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, really, really great story. I really, really loved that one.
me too.
All right, moving right along here, we got the Mortal Canvas, and this is a story set in the 2070s.
It was like shortly after they achieved immortality, right?
Yeah,
Like 20 years maybe or something like that.
yeah, like these kids' art teacher lived in the time of
Yeah,
mortality.
and the kids were the first generation of the
Yeah,
people that were immortal.
yeah, first generations of immortals. And so this is the one where they it's like this art class and nobody really likes their art teacher because she's like very old school.
Yeah,
And the kids aren't very like cultured, like they don't understand that art like comes from your heart and
yeah,
emotion and passion. They're just like, oh, I recreated a Picasso or whatever, you know.
yeah,
And so it's kind of like this dull group of kids with this one teacher who's trying to like instill in them
yeah,
the mortal idea of art.
yep.
And then this Scythe comes in. I forget what the Scythe's name was,
Oh, I do
but
too.
but but this Scythe comes in and she's like she makes it seem like she proposes this competition and she makes it seem like if whoever doesn't win the art competition is going to get gleaned.
Yeah,
And she kind of alludes to it and then she like gleans someone right in front of them
yep.
to like show them how scary it is. And this was probably like this is probably like top 3 of my favorite stories because you know, one thing that I found super interesting about the Scythe world in general is what happens when all of humanity becomes immortal.
Yeah,
And we start to lose that like we start to lose the things that makes us human, right?
yep.
We start to lose creativity. Marriage doesn't really mean anything because
And
you know
yeah,
you're
it's because your time doesn't matter anymore.
yeah
There's no limit on your time, right?
right.
You have all the world, whereas before I think there was a quote that somebody said, he's like, and this I'm gonna butcher the crap out of this, but basically they were saying like, um, fear is what drove people, the fear of death, not necessarily just that fact, but the fear of knowing that your time is limited is what gave artists and people the courage and like the empowerment to like be creative.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I love even just from the trilogy, I love that whole idea because we saw that several times in the trilogy. We saw like marriages where if you live forever, like no matter how much you love somebody at the beginning, you're gonna get bored and you're
Yeah.
gonna like kind of go your separate ways and
Yep.
like it's not gonna like mean anything. And so that was just something that really captivated me about this society and like the artists who like pretty much you know all of the artists in the Scythe world were able to recreate a Mona Lisa
Yeah.
like you know paint
Yep.
like you know brush stroke by brush stroke like exactly. And there's just like there's nothing new anymore.
Yeah.
Everything's gotten very dry. And so I love this idea where this Scythe basically has a knife hanging over these kids' heads, or so they think. And so it pushes them to really believe that they are completely screwed if they don't
Yeah.
make something good. So in their heads, they do have a time limit.
Yep.
And on top of that, the main boy, I forget his name,
Mortimer.
Mortimer,
Yep.
he wasn't it wasn't Ben or something?
No, it was Morty.
Okay,
Mortimer.
Mortimer. So he makes this painting of the Scythe nude, because he knew like at first it would piss the Scythe off, and he knew that if he didn't spin it in the right way, it would be his head either way.
Yeah.
And that's like exactly the lesson that she wanted them to learn. And she's like, I wanted you, you know, when it came time to like show everybody's paintings and everything, like she was like, I wanted you to feel like your life was on the line. I wanted you to feel like you had a limited time to produce the best quality, like the last piece of art that you would ever be known for. Like that's what I wanted. And so I just thought that was a really cool idea. And I think I really liked the characters and like how diverse that whole team was. There was the one kid who like he wasn't good at art, but he was really good with tech.
Yes.
And so like he made an app that like took everybody's style, and you could like draw anything and then
He
put
made it
it
a
into their
filter.
style.
Yeah.
Filter. And so I thought that was super cool. I liked kind of like the budding relationship between Mortimer and the other girl in the class, and how they kind of slowly fell in love. And then the teacher, she was really awesome. And the Scythe like gleaned her, and everyone's like begging the Scythe not to glean her. And that was really emotional at the end there, where she had to go. And you know, I thought it was interesting how this is something that I hadn't really thought of before, but it mentions like, oh, you know, like the Scythes have had this idea of gleaning all the mortal age people to get the mortal age thinking out of here. And like, that's just brutal. Like all of the people who finally, you know, stayed alive until we all became immortal, they all have to go now because they have this way of thinking that is different from the new society that we've created. And so I thought that was really cool. I like this one.
I did too. I want to add on. So the teacher, of course, is a very like traveled, you know, very like historic person, and she understands, you know, all of the old histories, and not even that, but like the old like mentalities, attitudes, like in the age of mortality. And so the moment where like the Scythe, you know, basically says like, since you didn't win, you thought you'd be gleaned, you know, and goes on to say like, you know, this is your time. The teacher tells the kids, she's like, no, I have lived my life. I have fulfilled its purpose. Like I know what's gonna happen, and I accept it. And that was like, I think I was crying at that point, dude, because I was like, that's so just so utterly like powerful, like seeing somebody that understands that like they have lived their life. They've done everything that they wanted to, everything they could, and they were accepting of being gleaned, because there's only a handful of people in the whole trilogy and these books where they're like, you know, I'm ready, like I accept it. Most everybody's freaked out. So I just had a lot of respect for her and her character for that.
For sure. Yeah, she was a great character.
Yeah.
So do you have any thoughts on this one? I don't think that I really have much to say about it. It was the one where we're looking at some of the ships.
Yeah, so I mean, just going from the launch to these ships, because we met Cirri and we know the plan, right? And there was like 40 of them or something, or 38 ships that were launched. And the Thunderhead gave a directive to Cirri that cannot be bypassed. It's, if there's no life left on board, detonate. If there's, you know, something catastrophic happens, detonate the ship. And so we bounce through several ships where people are awake. There's one where there's like people start to make gangs and cliques, right? And they're battling for power. And there's this guy that's like, he's like, you know, imagine there's this cult, and then you got the people that are standing for good. And so he like throws one of them out the airlock, one of the leaders, to try and prove like, no, we were not going to put up with this stuff. And then the guy's wife does the same thing, and he's like got her in the airlock, and Cirri says like, this, you need to rethink what you're doing. And this guy's like power tripping. He's like, nope, this needs to happen, Cirri. It's like, we have to do this. Of course she doesn't say this, but the second he throws her out the airlock, she detonates, because there was so much trouble there that she knew it wouldn't work. So we bounce, I think there's like 6 or 7 of them that we actually see. And I don't have a lot more, but I did
Yeah.
think that it was interesting to see just a little. I was hoping that we would see a little bit of that travel,
Yeah.
and the reasons why some of them weren't going to make it, and the reasons why some were, was kind of cool to
Yeah.
see.
Yeah, there was one where the main leader or something, I can't remember a whole lot about this,
Yeah.
but the one of the leaders was like, we can't have children.
Yes.
We can't, like, we don't have the resources for that. Like, we can
Yep.
have all the children we want when we get to the planet, but we can't do it right now. And I think that's kind of a rational thing,
Yeah.
honestly.
Well,
Like,
I think to add to that, so the leader basically realized that if one of us gets pregnant, one of us has to go deadish. And so like
yeah,
if somebody voluntarily said, I'll go deadish until we're there, that person could have a kid. And so there are people that did it, people that had kids, and I was like, that's perfectly rational, right? You have enough life support to support exactly this many people. You
yeah,
can't do one more, you can't do one less.
yeah,
And so yeah, it was cool. And then there was one too where like there was this like leak. There was so the life support Cirri says is it, the most intense technology, but also the most delicate that we have.
yeah,
And so there was this like minor leak. She talks about how it's all closed system, like all the waste gets turned into this and all the oxygen gets filtered and turned into this. And there was a leak, and it was like she was like it was like 3 drops of water every year or something like that, or like
yeah,
1 cubic foot of oxygen every year. And
yeah,
she's like that it won't, like, we won't make it there in time. And I was like, how fucking crazy is that, dude? The most
yeah.
minor mess up, and they said it was due to human error in the building,
Oh,
causes the end of it. I was like, that's pretty wild.
oh,
Yeah.
yeah. Was that the one where, like, at the end, the lady was like, "Wake me up
Yes.
when we get there," and she's like
Yes.
struggling to breathe,
Yeah.
and and Siri is trying to tell her, like, or Cirrus or whatever was trying to tell her, like, yes, like, technically I can get you there, but I'm under orders. And like the girl, like, just like didn't hear her, like,
Yeah,
by the
so
time she
the
died.
girl asks Siri, like she says, "Are we more important than your orders? Like we should be." And Cirrus she says, "Yes, you are." And the second she dies, Cirrus
Yeah.
detonates, just because of that directive.
Oh God,
Yeah.
that's so sad. Did you say? Oh, because you
I
said
said
Siri.
Siri.
That's funny.
It captured my entire talking there, dude. It's like 3 pages worth of crap.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So then we move on to Anastasia's Shadow, and this is the one where Citra's brother gets picked up by Scythe Constantine,
Yeah.
and he's apprenticed, because at this point in the story, Citra has just like died on
Endura.
Endura, yeah, and they don't know where she is. They assume that she got eaten by the fish and everything.
Yep.
And so they train Ben to be the next Citra,
Yeah.
and it's not going well. Like,
No.
he is not becoming a good Scythe.
Yep.
And I don't know if this was, I don't think this was ever like alluded to in the main trilogy, that he was trained
No.
to be a Scythe.
Yep. No.
And so he's going through all that, and he has these people coming in and out who are giving him like a massage at the end of the day to like keep him in good shape. And then this one guy, Raj, comes, and he stays as his masseuse. And then they kind of like fall in love, and Ben tries to put together a plan to like get out of there and run away and all that. And of course he gets caught. Like, Constantine knew that he would do
Yeah.
that.
It was all planned out.
Yeah. And so yeah, that happened. And then basically Constantine tells them, like, hey, we actually found your sister, we don't need you anymore.
Yep.
And so Ben's like, okay, well, what now? So they send Ben to St. Petersburg with a new name and whatnot. And then he runs into Raj,
Yeah.
after Constantine like hands him this note, and he's like, I'm not the monster that you think I am.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a really cool quote, because like throughout the series, we're kind of wondering, like, okay, he's not a good guy, but he's not
Yeah.
a bad guy. And so it's interesting to see in this short story that he has like more of a heart than,
Yep.
you know, probably most of us gave him credit for. And so he sends him to the same place that Raj is at, but Raj has been supplanted because
Yep.
they couldn't have him, you know, spilling all their secrets. So then Ben and Raj meet up, and Ben's like, oh, I miss you, Raj. And he's like, if I knew who Raj was, I would probably miss him too.
Yep.
But I think it says in the series that when someone is supplanted, they are told they're supplanted, but they're not told who they are.
Yeah.
And so I think by Ben saying that, this guy's like, oh, I must have had like some sort of relationship with this Ben guy. And so then they go walking around the museum and try to spark up their romance again. And I thought that was really interesting because if you think about it, Ben gets sent to that place, Citra gets woken up, and they never get to see each other again because probably by the time Ben is like out of the Scythe, like, you know, bunker or whatever, she's already up in a spaceship.
Yeah.
And so he never gets to see Citra again. So now he's really on his own. And it did say that Citra's parents were like ungleaned, because like Constantine had orders to like go glean the whole family, but then he took them to an off-site place and like, you know, revived them. So yeah, do you have any thoughts on this story?
No, I mean that was pretty solid. You know, it was just another. I think the Constantine point that you had too, because he was one of the main focuses of this story. And in the trilogy, just like you said, he's kind of in the gray area of everything. Like he's working for Goddard, but he also like despises Goddard, but he has to play his cards right. And so him trying to train him up was like basically trying to implant this, you know, not mysterious, but just another Anastasia, like you said.
Yeah, he's trying to get like a secret agent.
Yes, exactly. Somebody that could turn the tide of this thing and make people see that Goddard's fucking crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean that's really all I got. I thought the scene where Raj, like just like you said, they're in there and he turns Ben turns to walk away and Raj like puts his arm on him. He's like, you know what? I'd like to get another cup of coffee with you. I was like, yes, dude.
Yeah.
You got that shit.
Yeah, for sure.
But yeah.
I think it's also interesting to see that there was kind of this underground contingent.
Yes, the Texas side them, baby. Yeah. They're all for that shit. I love Texas, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really cool.
Yeah.
All right, so then we go on to Persistence of Memory, and this one, like, it wasn't like one of my like top 3 favorites, but I did enjoy it.
Yeah, there was a lot that was going on in this one, dude.
Yeah, so there was Scythe Gaudi and Scythe Dolly, and Scythe Dolly is taking these people and like trying to make like a spectacle out of them because he's kind of the other end. And I think this is kind of a theme throughout this book in a small way. Maybe, I don't know. But like he's trying to create art, but he like real art, but he's creating it in a really weird way.
In a really brutal way.
Yeah, he's taking his gleanings and trying to turn that into art. So like the scene that we open up with is these 2, you know, young people getting married, and he's gonna like basically turn them into glass.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought he was turning them into like a statue or something.
I think he was trying to like blow it against the canvas. I could be wrong.
Yeah.
That's what I thought.
That makes sense. Yeah. Yeah, that's nuts. And he's like behind like this big glass shield. And all the people are like behind this shield. and they're just like, how are we supposed to enjoy our
Yeah.
wedding? Like, this is so crazy.
And he makes it sound so like when I first listened to him
Romantic.
talk, yeah, romantic, and I was like, okay, he's doing this respectfully. Like it
Yeah.
sounded like he was one of the good ones.
Right.
And then yeah, as we go on.
And then you think about it a little bit more, especially like compared to the other Scythe in the story.
Yeah.
You realize like, oh, this guy, he's doing this out of like pridefulness. Like
Yes.
he's not trying to do this to like,
No, he's trying to make his mark on the
right.
world.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's
His, not theirs.
right, exactly. And so, it's interesting how quickly I flip-flopped
Yeah.
when I just like you said, when I first saw him, I was like, oh yeah, he's trying to be like trying to preserve them. And then it's like, oh no, he's actually like a kind of a bad guy.
Yeah.
And so then the next scene we see Gotti, and he had turned off all the lights and like shut down everything and like spirited them away from there. Yep. And he took them to like this hotel, and he poisoned them, and poison's like 12 hours or whatever. And he's like, go upstairs, enjoy your wedding night, love each other.
Yep.
And in the morning, like, you'll basically be dead in each other's arms.
Yeah.
And that's like what we thought Dolly was trying to do.
Yep.
But it's so much more of like a respectful way. And I like, and Gotti said like, I can't, he basically said like, if I could unglean you, I would, but you've already been marked for gleaning.
Yeah.
So this is like the best I can do.
Yep.
And
they were like super like thankful for it too. Like they were like, thank you for getting us out of that craziness. Like, you've earned my respect type thing.
Yeah, for real. So I thought that was cool. But then Gotti has this niece who is like this big risk taker. She's like one step away from being unsavory.
Yeah.
Like she just wants to feel a rush in everything. And so so she kind of gets picked up. Like dude, I don't know what she's thinking. She's like starting to fuck around with Dolly.
Yeah.
And like she's poking the bear.
Yep.
And he realizes that she can't she doesn't have immortality because she's like an adopted niece.
Yep.
And so he's like, all right, well, I'm gonna glean you. And he like, I can't remember if he like knocks her out or what, but
he does. He sticks a syringe in her and then locks her up. Meanwhile, he's making this fucking insane ass
machine
creation that's across like the entire area, and there's like bowling balls that go down, cuts the string, and then the string goes. I'm like, holy crap, dude.
And then like the last one is her like up on a bell tower.
Yeah,
shoots, like
an arrow. Yeah.
And like as he gets to know her.
Yeah.
And as he gets to know more about Gotti, he gets to the last moment, and all he wanted was for Gotti to step in how he always does. Because we kind of get the feeling that this is like a back and forth between the two of them. And Dolly realizes that Gotti isn't gonna step in this time, and that he's gonna let it happen. And so Dolly starts to have a change of heart, and he's like, wait, what am I doing? Like, I don't actually. He's like, I just wanted him to stop this. Yeah. And so he jumps in front of the arrow and takes it in the shoulder. And he's like, I'm dying. Like, this is the best self-gleaning ever. She's like, you got hit in the shoulder. You're not going to die.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh no. And so then he's like trying to think about how he can
turn this to be
to be in his favor so he doesn't look like an idiot. And he's like, what if I make you an apprentice? Do you want to become a Scythe? And she's like, hell yeah. So she just becomes his apprentice. Oh dude, just like a goofy ass.
Yeah, it was goofy.
It.
Yeah, I did too. It was goofy as fuck.
Yeah. Okay, so then we go on to Meet Cute and Die.
Mm-hmm.
And I think this was my favorite one.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think this was my favorite one. It was just like, because like somewhere deep down in my black crusted heart, I really love rom-coms.
Oh,
Like Just Friends is like one of my favorite
yep.
movies. Same with like Adventureland. I love what's the one with Ryan Reynolds and he works at like a newspaper.
Oh, yeah. I don't know the name, but I know what you're talking about.
Oh my god, hang on. The Proposal, that's what it is.
Okay, yep.
Okay. Yeah, dude, I love that movie.
It's your guilty pleasure.
Yeah. And so I loved Meet Cute and Die because it was just like it was almost like a dumb like rom-com
Yeah.
but in the Scythe world. And so
Yep.
so it's like it's this girl Marnie Whittle, and she's like really prone to accidents, as is this guy Cochran. And she's like walking on the sidewalk and this dude just comes falling out of the sky and kills both of them.
Yeah.
and then she wakes up in the hospital and she's like, what happened? And they're telling her like, oh, this guy fell on you. And then it shifts to his perspective and he asks the nurse like, can I go say I'm sorry? And she's like, yeah. He goes in and introduces himself and she's like, he tells her what happened. And she's like, oh, are you a splatter? And he's like, no, I was a victim of like an unsavory
Yeah.
like prank and I fell out a window. And she's like, oh, there's kind of like this like flirtation between them.
Yep.
And then it like kind of buds into this romance and they go on like several dates and they end up in the hospital like 2 more times because
Yeah.
I can't remember. I think they fell off a curb or something.
And got hit. Yeah, they got hit by a public car.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so then they end up in the hospital again. And then that's when her aunt, the Scythe, like meets this guy. And like Marnie wakes up. She's like, where's my aunt? She's like, oh, she's in the other room with your boyfriend. And she's like, oh my God. So and her Scythe aunt is just like the worst person.
Just so controlling and just like fucking terrible.
And she lives in like this castle and she doesn't even like go out and glean. She like tells people like come to her and then she launches them off this catapult
to try and hit this fucking she's got this target painted out there, dude.
Yeah, which is just the most ridiculous thing.
Yeah.
And it's like you think about like, I mean, every Scythe has a different way of gleaning, but catapulting somebody off,
it's just obscure, dude.
It's so funny. I just found it so hilarious. And so the Scythe aunt, what's her name?
Boudini or
Boudica. Yeah, Scythe Boudica like brings him back. She's like, "Oh, we should give you a tour of the castle." And so
and she like she's like acting all nice and like, "Oh yeah, oh, it's so nice to meet you. Thank you for coming, blah blah blah." And then the girl Marnie, she's like, something's weird.
Something's
here.
going on.
Yeah.
and she goes to the bathroom or something. And she comes back and they're like on the roof and Scythe Boudica, she just sees Scythe Boudica being like, yeah, just a little to the left, just a little. And he's like, oh, am I supposed to stand here? And she's like got her hand on the lever to like launch him. And like Marnie comes out and like stops her. And I forget exactly how, but somehow Marnie gets Boudica onto the catapult. And
then the cool, well, yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to steal your thunder, but right after that, when they're in, they go to meet her aunt at the revival center.
And like, and Marnie too is like, well, you can't glean him now because now he's my husband.
Yep.
And so they're married now. And I think that's just like,
that was awesome.
What a loophole. Like, we've known each other for a few weeks. Let's get married so you don't get gleaned. Like,
yeah.
Dude, it's so great. And what else happened? She was like, and Scythe Boudica was like afraid of being alone. Like she was like terrified of like being on her own. And so Marnie is like, we'll live with you and we'll help you run the grounds, but we're gonna open tours back up.
Yep.
And we're gonna have friends over and you can't glean them.
Yeah.
And Scythe Boudica is just like, oh my God, okay. And
Yeah.
Yeah, I just love that whole story. I was entertained the whole way.
Yeah.
Yeah. So then we got, oh shoot, we got two more.
Yep.
Okay. So we got,
Perchance to Glean.
yeah. Oh yeah,
The
this is
next
the
one.
one. This is the one you liked, right?
This is my favorite one of the
Okay.
story. Yeah.
So why don't you talk about this, because I literally don't remember like anything that happened. I hated this one.
Okay. Okay.
I hated this story.
Okay. Fair enough. Fair enough. We start off. It's a charter region in Antarctica, and then in the series, it's this communal dream thing is mentioned too.
Yeah.
And so basically, at night, like when they go to sleep, everybody in this region is connected within their dreams, and it's almost like jumping into a video game. Like you can like at one point they're like
It's like a
surfing on,
lobby.
yeah, it's like a lobby, and you go to the one you choose. There's builders, there's architects that like make these dreams and implant them so people can play with them.
Yeah.
And so the first like couple nights of sleep, I forget the main character's name.
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know either. But it follows this one character this whole time, and so they're out like surfing on this golden lake, and there's like, they're like messing around and this and that and whatever, and they're playing, and then like they go back either to the lobby or a different one, and they see this black panther that's this plays, or is that the color? Plays? It's
Plays?
a pattern.
Oh, I can't remember.
Okay, it's either plays or played. I'm not sure.
Okay.
But it's this this
plaid?
No, I think it was different, but
Okay.
we'll say plaid just for the sake of this.
Okay.
So this tiger had this like plaid pattern that was on it, right? And in this area, like the way that scythes work, if there's a scythe in the Antarctic region or charter area, the way that they glean is in the dreams. So any scythe, if they see you during the day in real life, they can't touch you, can't glean you, nothing. And so in the dreams, they can find you and glean you. And so his friend, that he only knows in the dreams, basically pranks this panther, jumps on the panther's back,
right, yeah.
messes with it. The panther has no idea, and then they dip. And then so the next night they go to sleep, and they like wake up in this like weird like spaceship, and the guy's like having these things. He's like, what if it's a scythe? They're like, no, it's not a scythe. Like, no way.
Yeah.
They wake up in the spaceship, and they're like, this is weird. And the kid's like having like these second thoughts. He's like, something's not right. Like something's going on. Like this is weird.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I skipped the dream, but that's okay.
Yeah.
They meet the panther at some point. And on the spaceship.
I remember they go through a whole bunch of them,
Yeah.
and those were the ones, they were like animals and shit. I'm just
Yeah,
like,
that
I
one.
don't
That's
care.
where they see the panther the second time. And basically on the ship is when they realize that they're being targeted by a scythe. And so the scythe turns into this like crazy like amalgamation of parts, and it's like chasing him through the ship, and they have to like think about, like, scythe have a lot of control in dreams, but we still do too. Like they turn off the gravity at one point, just by thinking about it, blah blah blah.
Yeah.
They make it to the end of this dreamscape, like the very end, and the guy's like, we need to get out of here, and so they basically airlock him out, and they both die. They wake up. And so shortly after that, I think the third one, I can't remember where they were, but basically it gets to this point where the guy that's being chased, like the scythe makes it to him, goes in his real form, and apparently once the scythe like shows their true body to you, you can't get out of it. You have 12 hours and they'll meet you in person and glean you the next day. But this guy's like, he's like, you can glean me, but I know that what you liked about that was the chase. Nobody else can give you a chase like I can.
Yeah.
So do you want to kill me or do you want to chase me? And basically he like turns into this, like, he's like not getting gleaned, but just running from her every night. I don't know, dude. I just thought it was cool. I think it's probably my lit RPG shit in my head that was like kind of cool. Yeah, portal stuff and different worlds and shit was cool, but
yeah, for sure. Yeah, I the one thing I did like about that is there was a scene where they're going through like a ton of crazy shit.
Yeah.
Like it's going from like, one area to another to another to another, and it's all like very Inception.
Yeah.
And
yes.
that was kind of cool. But yeah, for the most part, I was just like, what is going on? Like, what?
Yeah, they definitely didn't need a story like that. Like it was purely just for the fucking craziness of it, I think.
Right.
But yeah,
I think the thing that probably like made me the most mad is like that story in the audiobook, if you're listening at normal speed, is an hour long or more.
Whoa.
And I'm like, dude, we could have gotten like 2 other short stories
Yeah,
of like
within the
different
time of
things.
that.
Oh,
Yeah.
So yeah, that ground my gears a little bit.
Ground your gears. Yep.
Yeah. But no, good. I'm glad you like that one.
Yeah.
Then we got the last one here, A Dark Curtain to Rise.
Yeah.
And this one was cool. It was kind of I like how Scythe Curie is pretty much like the first story and the last story.
Yep.
We see how she like begins and how she like ends.
Yeah.
And so she's resurrected and supplanted into one of the Tonist bodies.
Yep.
And wakes up to Cirrus or whatever, and just kind of telling her like what the deal is now. She's on a planet with other people who have been supplanted into Tonist bodies, and yeah, and so then she's asked like what name she wants to take on, and she's like, oh, I'll be Susan again, but I'll take the last name of the Tonist, which is Wild Blood. And Cirrus explains to her like, there is no more gleaning. Like you can't.
You are not a
cannot-
Scythe
Yeah.
anymore. Yeah.
She's like, you cannot glean here. You are a normal person. And so she kind of has to come to grips with she's no longer like this big figure anymore. She's just Susan Wildblood.
Yep.
And I think like, I don't know. I think one of the sad things was that there's others who she would know from her same like generation that are also supplanted there, but I can't remember if they're not allowed to reveal who they are, or if they just don't.
So she says, yeah, Cirrus says that they just don't, and only if they choose to tell you, will you know?
Right.
Yeah.
Right. So hopefully she finds some people that
Yes.
she knows.
Yes.
But yeah, I thought I definitely did not expect Curie to get like reincarnated, I guess. Yeah. I think that's pretty cool. It's also heartwarming to know that she was in like the top 10%.
Yes, of people who were chosen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's really cool. You can tell that she was like a really wise and important person. So any thoughts on that story?
No, I mean, nothing that you didn't just say. It was just cool to know that there's going to be something. She talks about opening a restaurant, like Scythe Curie loved to cook.
Right.
And Cirrus has this moment. Cirrus just out of nowhere asked her, like, if you had an appetite and you could eat anything, what would it be? She thinks about it, and then she's like, wait, I would eat this, but I would never eat that. And she's like, that's the person before you's like thoughts. And she realizes that she knows she's been supplanted, but she realizes that like it's part of her now. She's like, I think I'm gonna open up a restaurant and try this and that. And I was like, I'm happy for her.
Yeah, I think it was just like a heartwarming.
Like, it was just a super nice moment.
Yeah, we know Curie is out there safe somewhere.
Yep, and contributing to this new colony and stuff.
Right. Yeah, I think that's super cool. But God, I wish we had we had gotten Rowan and Citra. That's the one I wanted the most. Like, I was like, I want to know,
or even just more. Yeah, exactly. I'm glad that we got to see Rowan, even if it was for like 3 seconds.
Yeah, that was because I didn't realize who it was at first, and then
me neither until it said Scythe Lucifer or whatever. I was like, oh, it's him.
Oh shit. Yeah. What a great callback. All right. Well, we have got to wrap up here because we have another podcast in a bit. What are final thoughts here? Like overall feelings about the book? Do you feel better about it now that we've talked, or do you feel the same? Or
no, I feel better about it. Always when you're expressing stuff and trying to go deeper into it, it's always nice. Like you might have ideas when you're reading, but it's always good to talk about it. And so I feel better now, although I didn't, I felt better then too, because I really did enjoy most of the stories.
Same.
And it was just kind of like a nice sidestep to this world that, not all of them were in line or not all that we wanted, but it was still cool to see. Yep.
And so I'm like, he's got to do more. And I saw something on, I think, Twitter today where he was saying that he would like to do like a sequel series someday.
Oh, yeah.
But it wouldn't be for like probably a decade or something.
Yeah.
But I know he does want to revisit this world. So I don't know if, maybe that's why we didn't get the Rowan and Citra story.
Yeah, because it's gonna be for that next thing.
Yeah, possibly. So yeah, who knows? I'm excited to see whatever's next. Like, this series is so like,
Yeah.
close to my heart. And like when we did that reread for the
Yeah.
podcast, when we first started, dude, I just realized, I'm like, dude, this series means so much to me.
Yep.
So yeah, hopefully we'll get more.
True that.
All right, dude. Well, thanks for hopping on and talking about Gleanings. We'll be hopping over to another podcast here in about 30 or something minutes, talking about not Voice of War, the whole Threadlight trilogy with Zach Argyle. So listeners, they'll probably get posted around the same time. With him, there'll be like a spoiler-free section, then a spoiler section. So come hang out, come check out that episode, and we'll see you there. But we are going to wrap it up. So thank you for hanging out with us while we chat about the Gleanings anthology. Be sure to check out our other Scythe episodes. We went through the whole trilogy. It was a super deep dive. They are from when we first started our podcast, from when we were pretty much brand new. So they may be a little clunky, a little janky, but they're still really fun. And we go super deep into those books. We talked about like every single scene. So if you're needing some Scythe content, those are definitely our longest episodes. So definitely go check those out. If you want to see more of this content, be sure to subscribe and hit the bell icon to get notified when we put up more videos, and check out our Discord and Twitter, which will be linked below. Have a good week, and until next time, keep an eye on your dog who just might be trying to glean you.